welcome back to the Pucking Mad podcast. Today, I'm joined by Owen Sobchak of the Bristol Pitbulls. Owen, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate this. Really appreciate it, mate.
No worries at all. Appreciate you having me on.
No, thank you. Maybe would you like to introduce yourself? You've been on a few podcasts already, so people probably know you, but maybe.
My name's Owen Sobchak. Played for the Bristol Pitbulls, forward on the team and team captain. And really just enjoyed my time being in Bristol and glad that I found my way here.
Fantastic, that's brilliant. To be honest, that leads me in quite quickly actually to the first question. Why Bristol Pitbulls? What was the motivation for you going to this team?
I think the biggest thing was just the word of mouth from how good of city and place it is to live. Like Bristol, you can always find something going on either during the day or at night. So I think when I was talking to Jamie and Rich in the summer, and then knowing people who lived here before, they kind of only had positive things to say about it. And then being able to play hockey, sport that I love, on top of all that, just made sense to make the commitment.
Yeah, that's cool. Really great. So if we could talk about first, maybe is you're Canadian, kind of raised through the Canadian system.
Yep.
Obviously, like you moved to Sweden as well, which is quite interesting. We've had lots of people go from the UK to Canada or to other countries. What's that like? What was that experience like?
Yeah, so I finished university hockey, and then when I got my degree, I realized that I didn't want to stop playing hockey. And there's not too many competitive leagues after university. There's a couple of senior leagues, but I find in Europe there's more of a I'd say opportunity to play hockey at a higher level. And then I figure if I can see the world while I'm doing it, why not come over here and try and make the most of it?
Yeah, it's awesome kind of to have that opportunity, I suppose. And how did the game differ in Sweden in comparison to Canada? Was it fundamentally very different? Was it a big jump going to?
I would say the style of hockey is very different. Whereas in Sweden, it's more skilled and speed, and you're really hanging on to the puck. Whereas North American style hockey is you chip the puck in and you try and go get that hit on the forecheck. And so I figured when I moved to Sweden, I enjoyed it a lot more being a smaller sized player, holding on to the puck and making the most with it. It's kind of right up my alley. So that's why I think I did pretty well when I was over there, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah, brilliant. Obviously raised in the Canadian system, which produces some insane talent across the board when it comes to hockey. And maybe you've seen a little bit of the British system. And obviously I know we cannot compare the Canadian system to the British system, but are there any aspects of the Canadian youth setups that you think could be used quite well in the UK when it comes to developing the sport and developing young players?
I think the biggest thing would be the facilities and accessibility to ice. I think where in Canada there's ice within 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, everywhere you go there's an ice rink. So people aren't waiting to get on the ice, like you can book on ice time, and that really helps in development, because if you're able to get on the ice right after school and then you're doing that 4 or 5 times a week, you're only going to get better. Whereas in the UK, from what I've seen so far, ice time is really hard to get, and obviously if you're not getting that ice time, you're not going to develop well.
Yeah, it seems to be a huge issue, and I think that's why you get certain smaller teams at the moment in the lower leagues with the NIHL, which are developing really quite high quality young talent because they are prioritizing that system.
Exactly.
Which is really cool. Yeah. Obviously, like it's your first season in the UK. You seem to enjoy the Bristol, which is awesome. It's a great city to live in. How's the hockey been in itself? Has it been a challenge to kind of adapt? Has it been easy? You've had quite a good goal assist ratio, so not bad.
Yeah, honestly, I think it was a lot harder than what I thought it was going to be. Like when you think of UK and England, you don't really think of ice hockey. You kind of think of like football and rugby. So when I came over here and then stepped on the ice, I was surprised at the skill that they did have. And just playing throughout the year, I realized that it is very competitive. And you even see that in the higher levels, like in the elite league. All the UK and English players in that league are really good players. So I find it's a really good competition every week, like as you see in our table. Any team can beat any team, so that's what you want. You don't want the top teams beating on the bottom feeders and just beating them 15-1, 16-1. So I like the competitiveness for sure.
Yeah, it's something actually that's quite fascinating, I think, with the Pitbulls, is that the way, obviously this was the first season. Perhaps there was maybe the expectations at the start of the season were kind of, okay, let's just see where we're at and go from there. But yeah, you're right. It's incredibly competitive, and I feel there's been some really unlucky results. Really, you should have won games, perhaps.
Yeah, I think coming into the season, there wasn't really too many expectations. As you said, we moved up the division in the league, but I also think at the same time we sort of underachieved from the roster that we have on paper and what we're putting on the ice. I think we could have done a lot better as the season ends now. We're fighting for a playoff spot still, but I think there's those games that you could have scored here, you could have saved that one there. Then it makes a difference in being in ninth position or fifth position.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. What about with the expectations? Obviously, like you say, start of the season was okay. Let's see where we go. In comparison to now, kind of the business end of the season, and with that playoff place, sort of, it's achievable, definitely.
Yeah.
What are the expectations now? Have the expectations ramped up as the season's gone on, or not really?
I think they kind of stayed the same. Like at the beginning of the year, you always want to play and you want to make playoffs no matter what. Doesn't matter what people are saying or what the league's saying. Like you're playing hockey to win games because winning's fun at the end of the day. But we also knew that we were a young team. We were bringing everyone in from different places in the country and around, so it's kind of hard people getting on the same page. But I think as the year went on, we definitely had our high moments when we were winning games. But I think kind of as the season went on, it kind of dwindled away from us a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, it's a shame. Obviously, as well, something that I think is worth noting with Bristol is the fans. Like, I think you have it is at home. You've had a home sellout every home match this season. I think every this year, I think it is, or something incredible like that. I saw a stat for, which I should have prepared for before.
Yeah,
So it
yeah, no,
sounds,
something since the new year for sure. It's been sold out every game, and our game next weekend, next Saturday, is already sold out 2 weeks in advance. So it goes to show the support that we do have here, and being a new team in the league, like that interest is in the community, and we love to see it as players.
yeah, I can imagine. And how does that influence the team's performances? Would you say at home? Like, has there been quite a good relationship formed over the past season? Does it influence the play at all? Would you say, or not?
You would think it would, like playing in front of a sold out crowd, majority of the home games, you would think it would get you going a little bit, and I think it has at times, but I think it's just there's also those times where we wish we could have done more for them because we know that they're coming to the games and we want to put on a performance for them. But I think what we do a really good thing as like as a club, we build that relationship. Like after the games, we'll sit and talk to the fans and go to like our local sponsor and have like dinner or a few drinks afterwards and just like build that relationship. So at the end of the day, they know that they're not just coming to watch us play hockey; they're actually building that relationship with us.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I did a podcast with Rich a
Yeah,
while ago, and I kind of put it out there amongst the Pitbulls fans, and the response that I got from that was incredible in terms that you can really feel the engagement with the
yeah,
team, and
and
that
that's what you want too.
yeah, 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 definitely as particularly as a minority sport in this country, we need to see the fans that are there are really engaging. And if people are enjoying it, they tell people, more people come, which is great. Maybe that's
No,
different.
exactly.
That says you selling out all the time, more people coming,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it just also builds like the reputation to grow outside of the UK. Like people from back home are messaging me, seeing like videos of highlight goals. We're like, wow, like they don't expect the arena to be sold out or anything, and then they realize like it actually is a big sport and people are coming out, and it's fascinating to see.
yeah. Oh, 100%. As particularly in the last sort of 10 years, you can really see the interest is growing, yes, but the one thing that's clearly growing is the standard. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know necessarily what I think it's probably the financial resources are increasing a bit too, which obviously helps
Yep.
bring import players like yourself in, because I think we need that in order to kind of make that jump with teams. But one thing that Bristol seems to do very well is balance that kind of import with homegrown players.
And it's kind of hard here as well because there isn't really a junior program in Bristol.
Yeah.
So they're trying to bring people in that live close, but still at the same time they're coming from Cardiff, they're coming from Swindon. So it's kind of hard to say, hey, come play for this club when other players don't really know too much about it, especially being a new team in the league. I think a lot of players around the league now realize that we are putting a good team on the ice each night, and the support that we have from the fans is just it's incredible.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. I can imagine for the management looking at next season, trying to plan and organize. I can imagine it will well, I'll say potentially, and I'm touching wood now, so I hope Rich doesn't get pissed off with me saying this, but I'm sure it will be an easier process. Like next season.
Yeah, you'd hope so.
You'd hope so. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's getting more competitive, I suppose, across the board, which is
Yeah.
and if we could talk a bit about the league, actually, like you said, it's shocked you by perhaps the standard and how competitive it was. Is there anything else about the league that you noticed when you came over, or as you played more and more within it, that kind of stands out?
What I've noticed most, I'd say, doesn't matter what rink in the league you go to, there's always a good turnout of fans. So that was cool. It's not just like teams that are in first and second place that are getting the sellout crowds. Like no matter where you go, you also have your home supporters coming on the road with you, and they have their own section. I think that's pretty cool to see. They're willing to go on a Sunday night and come back at 12 at night or 1 a.m. knowing they have to work on a Monday, but they're still there to support you.
Yeah.
Hockey wise, I think like we already said, like the skill around the league, like you see some players in the league, they could probably play elite league if they wanted to, but they're happy where they are. Maybe they have some ties of a hometown or they live nearby, but I think the skill is definitely here in the league, and you see that.
Yes. Yeah. It is interesting, like you say there, where it says a lot about the league, where there are certainly players who could make that jump to the elite league. And actually the national is providing all the competition that they need. That's a really interesting thing. What about, obviously this is quite a controversial topic, and it's something that I've tried to avoid, but lots of people have been asking me to ask as many people as possible. So if you don't want to talk about this, just please tell me to shut up. Obviously it's an odd numbered there's an odd number of teams in the league, which is impractical nightmare if we're honest in some cases. How do you feel about the idea of adding extra teams? Do you think it's something that as a player it should happen or not?
I think it wouldn't be bad to add another team to even the number out, but at the same time, you also don't want to water down the league. If the skill and talent isn't there in the league or in the UK to be found to make a good team that's willing to compete, like there's no point in adding a team just to water it down, because then you're just gonna have to spread everybody out, and then I think the competition on ice isn't there. But at the same time, as we've already spoke about, like we see this skill in the UK. Like, there's got to be players in the league below that are able to make the jump up as well. So if the numbers are right and there's enough players and there's a team that's able to fund it, like definitely hop on board, I would say.
Yeah, no, it's interesting as a point to consider. What about like the idea of going around the country? Obviously, there are teams like Solway Sharks up in Scotland, Streatham in London too. I suppose that could make the jump, possibly. How do you feel about the idea of traveling nationally, or would you prefer a conference system, localizing that sort of setup?
I think if you were to add teams, you'd almost want to do like conferences for like how far you have to travel, but at the same time, you still have those cross conference games. So you're still going to go play. Maybe you'll make one or two far road trips to get two games out of the way on the same weekend. But at the same time, that all ties back to budgeting as well. So you don't want to be struggling to support your club and not be able to fund your team at the same time.
Yeah, it's true. I think as well that is one of the things that we've seen. Particularly, there are like obviously in the with Solway in the and NIHL 1 in the north, they're having to kind of travel a lot, and they're getting back very late sometimes, Sunday night or Monday morning, which obviously dissuades some fans from traveling as well, which is a real shame.
That's when you have to consider doing, like, you're going out for 2 games and then you're playing them and then you won't play them again for like 4 or 5 months or something. That's the only way you'd be able to do it, and that all comes back to budgeting as well. Because then the away team, they're gonna have to put the team up at the hotel for the night, and you're still paying for the bus for the 2 days. So if there's a way to do it, I'd say hop on board 100%. And it seems to me that a lot of the clubs do have the support and funding from what I've seen. So if it's achievable, why not?
Yeah, I would agree. And you are right. There's definitely an element of not wanting to overstretch it and ruin the development that's happened. Obviously, as well, British sports, we love a bit of promotion and relegation. As somebody from Canada, how do you feel about that? Does it make you feel a bit sick when you think about it, or how does it apply to you? Do you like it or not about it?
No, like in Sweden, they did the same thing. So the promotion relegation, I thought it was awesome when I first moved to Sweden, how you're always playing for something no matter what. Like if you're at the bottom of the table, you don't want to get knocked out and move down. And if you're at the top of the table, well, you're at the top of the table.
Yeah, I suppose it's the ultimate test, ultimate meritocracy. But yeah, I suppose as well, though, for a developing sport, maybe it doesn't provide the stability within our within our kind of our system.
I think if you were able to do that, you'd have to do it within just the National League, and you wouldn't be able to combine with the Elite League because they would be on their own. If you kept it within the National League, I think we'd be able to do better if it were to happen.
Yeah, I would agree. The Elite League's a bit of a weird ring fence thing that I suppose is like it could do with being left alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So one kind of final question before I'll leave you alone, so you can go relax and not have to talk to me. Is the with the season kind of coming to an end, what are your ambitions personally for the season? You've got a great goal and assist kind of points now. What do you want for the rest of the season?
Yeah, well, right now I'm currently out with I've been out for the last 10 weeks with an injury, lower body. So supporting the guys from the sideline right now is the best I can do. But it'd be nice for us to finish on a strong note as a team. Because as we talked about, there has been up and downs in the season, and the best way to finish the season is on a high note.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's a really key thing, isn't it? And that's awesome. Owen, thank you so much for coming on, mate. I really appreciate you taking your time to talk to me. It's been great.
No worries at all. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.